In this demo, which is really focused on the frontline marketer who's going to be running these campaigns through the system and might be feeling the pain of trying to execute these campaigns today, trying to manage these relationships across multiple vendors, having to work with IT, having to work with a number of different agencies and vendors outside of the company. This is one way to be able to centralize a lot of those efforts and take some of the manual processes of managing those campaigns and automating them by having them all available in one system that could be managed by a non-technical marketer. So what I'm hoping to show you today is how you can save considerable time and effort when you're executing those campaigns, and how easy it'll be in real time to show the success of those campaigns to your boss and people above you in the organization, all the way down to the ROI of that campaign and different elements of the campaign, as well as, for your sake, how successful some of the tactics you're running are and how you can tweak them in real time to be able to get a better result. So I'm going to jump right in. What you can see here is I've gone to a website. So this is a web-based platform where you just need to go to the website, log in with your username and password, and you can click submit. And now you get to the main dashboard, which allows you with one click to get to any section that you need to in the system. It's purposely laid out to be very graphical, and it's a very intuitive way to be able to manage all the elements that are available to you in the system. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to actually set up a campaign end to end, and I'm going to do it in a very short time frame. So what would have taken you potentially months, many months, to be able to execute and set up in terms of a campaign, I'm going to do today in a matter of minutes to show you how powerful this can be and how much time this can actually save you. So to set up a campaign, we're going to go through a number of logical steps, including we're going to start by uploading the list of consumers that we have today into the system. We're going to set up some segments so we can actually target market to those consumers. Then we're going to go and we're going to set up some of the elements of our campaign. So the campaign that we're going to set up today might have some email marketing involved. It might have some mobile marketing. It might have some contesting and promotions. Maybe we want to tie it in to some social concepts. So we're going to do a couple of those things really quickly today. And then we're going to pull it together in the campaign, and we're going to make sure that that campaign is relevant to individuals. We're going to make sure that we set up our goals properly so that we can track the ROI. And then we're going to go into the reporting section, and we're going to actually see how well we're doing and where we can improve. So let me jump in and start here in our community area. So the community area allows you to manage everything to do with your consumer database. So this is your look into the database. This is where you can upload users. This is where you have the ability to manage those users, as well as expand the profiles for those individuals based on what's important to your company. So I'll give you an example. The first thing that I would do in here is I would actually go and upload my users. So right now the system doesn't have anybody in it. So I'm going to go and I'm going to take my existing database, whether that's in Excel or whether it's in some other marketing database right now. I'm going to export that, and I'm going to easily import it into the system. So I'm going to get it in here by just following a couple of steps up here, where I can just pick the different profiles. So I can make sure that I match up the headers. So if I've got this in an Excel file, I just need to make sure that the column headers in Excel match up to the way that we understand them in our system. Once I've done that, then I can pick some simple properties in terms of how I want to handle users and default languages. I can start to set opt-ins for that group of people if they haven't already been set. And then I would just browse my hard drive, find the file, and upload that file. So find it, grab it, wherever it is, an Excel file, select it, upload it. Once I've uploaded it, one of the great things about the 80/20 platform is we actually create a unique profile for every single individual in the database. And that profile is not just a line here where you can see somebody's email address. It actually is a really rich 360-degree profile. So I'm going to click in here. We're going to view somebody. So I've just uploaded Jimmy Gandy here. And you can see that the system has already created a profile for Jimmy. So what it's done is it's basically taken the information and it's put it into a really rich profile that I can extend over time. So it's this idea of progressive profiling, where as I collect information on my campaigns, both on Jimmy's behavior as well as what he's telling me in the forums, how he's participating with me in my promotions and my marketing, I can start to collect information and I can start to progressively profile them. So everything builds to this one central profile, and everybody in the system has their own individual profile. So I can see here I've collected some information on them in terms of some key communications information, name and email address, as well as their mobile number. We've got a scoring system that's standard in our platform to be able to measure engagement. And everybody is ranked on between 0 and 100 based on their engagement. So 82 would be high. So the great thing there is I can see quickly that Jimmy, based on how he's participated with me, is actually a very engaged person and could be an advocate for me. Typically, this would be a really good indicator of loyalty. Then I can go down and you can see I've got a number of sections here below where I've been able to start to collect information. So first is the profile. So this is largely demographic information that I've been able to collect. So date of birth, gender, any information in terms of where they live, so that I can start to create demographic filters if that's important. Then I can go and I can extend the profile with any questions that I'm interested in that are specific to my company. So for me, it's very important that I know how many times they visit my store per month or how much they spend with me on an annual basis. I might want to know if they're a homeowner, what their income level is, different things to be able to help me to better segment them and ultimately to be able to deliver better marketing messages back to them. Then we've got something in our system called engagement indices, which basically allows you to set up different indices to track behaviors of consumers as they relate to your marketing campaigns. And from that, you can start to create some really interesting segments. So you can start to look in here and say, how does this person rank relative to the rest of the community when it comes to advocacy or influence? Or you can go as specific as, how did this person respond to my sports-related communications, offers, and promotions, so that I can start to gauge whether they're a sports enthusiast or whether they like cooking or whether they like responding to promotions versus communications. And you can start to really build a great profile based on the behaviors of that person in your marketing campaigns. Then I've also got the ability to run a full loyalty program on our system. So we've got a full loyalty engine where you can earn and burn points. And that program allows me within the profile to see how many points that person has. We also have a very advanced opt-in concept in our system where people can opt in at multiple levels in terms of a global level, at a brand level, as well as at a campaign level. And they also have an ability to opt in across multiple channels. So here we're featuring email and SMS. If you were also using direct mail or call center, you could expand that. But the common digital channels would be email and SMS at this point. And then you can see the segments. So one of the key parts about our system, because it's all targeted one-to-one marketing, it's really about segmentation. It's about how can we segment people in ways that are going to provide value back to them as well as the company. So setting up segments is something I'm going to do quickly in a second, but this just shows you how the person has automatically been put into the segments. So the great thing about our segmentation engine is it's actually dynamic. So if you can imagine it like a coin sorter, when you make a change to your profile or your behavior changes, you're actually going to be, your segment membership is going to change automatically as well because it's intelligent. It's going to look at that and it's going to automatically move you. And that could be as simple as, there's an 18 to 24-year-old segment and a 25 to 30 segment. And the day that you turn 25, you're going to be moved automatically from one segment to the next. Or it could be as different as you weren't engaged with the brand, so you were in a low engagement setting, and then as you started to engage more, you moved to a moderate or a highly engaged behavioral segment. And you can imagine the value of that from if anybody's had to manage lists manually and move people through those segments, they know the pain involved in trying to manage that on a manual basis. And then the last thing below here, you've got the ability to look at the event history for that individual. And this is everything that they've done. related to the marketing campaigns that are run through the system. So when they updated their profile, when they opened emails, when they clicked through, what contests they participated in, when they earned points, some key things that they might have done socially in terms of telling friends and spreading the message, and everything is date stamped, so you can start to see when they did it and how they've expanded their relationship with you over a period of time. So as you can tell, it's a very deep profile, and this really is the heart of the system as it comes to as it relates to managing relationships across multiple channels and multiple campaigns. The next thing I'm going to do now that I've got people in my community is I'm going to go to the segment manager. And the segment manager allows me for the first time as a non-technical marketer to get in here and actually set up segments on my own without having to go to IT or without having to go to whoever manages my database. So let's say the target segment for me is females 18 to 24. That's my demographic segment. But I'm really trying to target people that are advocates. So I want to make sure that they're highly engaged as well. So this is a difficult segment to set up typically because the females 18 to 24 is really based on their profile, but highly engaged has to look at how much they're responding to my marketing versus other people in my community, which is not something that's easy to do in a typical marketing system. So I'll show you how easy this is to set up. I hit the green plus button here, which drops down an attribute. So the first attribute is gender. And I'm going to say gender is equal to female. Then I'm going to go and I'm going to set up the age. So I'm going to say age. This time I'm looking for an age that's between. So I'm going to go age is between. And then I'm going to select 18 to 24. And now finally, to be able to tell if the person is highly engaged, I'm actually going to take advantage of our scoring system here. And I'm going to say that the brand engagement index has to be greater than 80%, meaning that they're in the top 20% of my entire community when it comes to engagement. So now that I've got that done automatically, I just save that, and I've actually just created a new segment. And it's really that easy, and I can go in and I can create a number of different segments, which I've already gone in and done so that we don't have to spend all that time here. But you can go back and you can see that I've got a number of segments that I've set up. Some of them are demographic, and some of them are behavioral based on value or influence. And like I did before, I just set up one that's really kind of a combination of the two. So now I've got people in my database, and I've got my segments set up, so that'll allow me to market to different groups differently. Now what I want to do is actually set up my campaign. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to set up the different tactics that I want to use within my campaign. So we talked before, I want to be able to involve email marketing in my campaign. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set up, I've had my graphic designer go in here before me and set up some templates for me. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to take one of the templates, and 80/20 also offers best practice templates where these campaigns are actually set up for you, which is something that everybody should take advantage of. But you do have the ability to not use one of the templates and start from scratch, which is what I've done here, which allows me to look at the template that my designer has set up and just build on that template. So I'm going to go in here, and this is just a standard template for an email. It's got the design down here, so let me slow down here. I've got my different language options up top, so I can set up different languages in the same area. I can put in my from and reply to email address, my subject line, and I can put in the plain text version. So this is something that I can easily edit. I also have the ability to personalize it by adding any variables that we've got in the database. So as an example here, and this isn't restricted just to the standard kind of first name, it might be other information that you've collected. So right now, maybe I want to put in the city. So, how is the weather in, and then I will just dump in the city that they live in. So again, I match up city with the variable, and I'm just copying and pasting that into the email. So, and then I can start to figure out whatever marketing I want to be able to put in here. And I've got the ability to do the same thing. I could just copy and paste this into my version down here, which is going to be the actual HTML version. So I'm just going to do that quickly. So I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to paste my new copy in there. And I can go in here and I can change some of the different elements here as well. So this is my newsletter, and it's from October 2009. Once I'm happy with this, I've got the ability to go down here to the spam analysis tool, which will actually allow me to test this, run it against some online filters to be able to say, what am I doing wrong, and is this likely going to be marked as spam? Because one of the key things in our system is we want to make sure our communications get to the people, get to the actual consumers, and that there's value there. We don't want to be a spam engine when you're sending out your messages, be that through email, through SMS, or whatever other channel. We want to make sure that there's relevance there. So that's just one way to be able to make sure that you're on track. Now that I've set up my email and I've got the ability to do this, for time's sake I'm not going to do this today, but I can do the same thing in terms of setting up a contest, sending up SMS, tell a friend, some more kind of social features. I've got the ability to set those up in these tactics as well. Once I've done that, now I can go into the campaign manager and I can actually configure the campaign. So I can start to tie in those elements in a way that makes sense in my campaign. So I'm going to go in here, and I've already set up a campaign just to make it simple. And the campaign that we're going to set up today, I've called the Proudest Parent campaign. So this is an acquisition campaign. It's really meant to grow the database. And the goal of this campaign is to capture new members or new prospects in my database. So what I've done is we've gone with a mock client, which is a grocery store client. And the goal is that they want to be able to really capture young mums, which is their target demo. So that young mum kind of demographic. So what they've done is they've set up a campaign on our system for people to be able to submit stories online about their kids. And you've got the ability to win a gift card for free groceries for a year, with the goal being, again, grow the database, create a sense of community. So I can go in here and you can see that there's multiple steps. 5 steps up here that I can just go on a step-by-step basis, like a wizard format, to set up my campaign. Step 1 is to set up the properties. Put in a name. I can associate it with a brand if I've got multiple brands. In this case, we don't. I can tie it into the website, so the website will actually have the pages that tie to this campaign. So if there's a registration form, if there's a login, all of those components are going to be automatically set up in the system, and you can go in there and configure them, but we just need to attach that website to this campaign so that we know how to measure it and track it. Start date and end date, and again, the description. Once I've set that up, the next thing I can do is go to the media planning area, and I can actually put in the ads that I'm running to support this campaign. So in this case, I've said, the Fairfax Connection, ad number 1. I can pick the channel. So this is a newspaper ad that I'm going to be running. I'm going to run it from this date to that date. So I'm running it for just over a week. And what I've spent on that ad. And you can tie this back into our system. This assumes that there's a digital call to action, which we feel that there should be on all of your ads. But this assumes that you're pushing somebody to a specific website or to text in to a specific with a specific keyword, so that we recognize that somebody has actually come from this particular ad. So once I've set those up, I've got the ability to move through to the events area here. And the events are basically a web beacon system similar to a lot of the web analytics companies that are out there. It's an easy way for you to be able to tie in to things outside of your website. So if you wanted to be able to track how many people were coming from a particular online banner ad, or you wanted to be able to track some pages on your corporate website that were outside of this promotion, you'd have the ability to go to that web designer and say, just put this script on the page, this little tag, and that'll allow our system to be able to monitor the traffic on that page remotely, as well as to be able to trigger some marketing to those people potentially based on them hitting that page or them doing a particular action, which is a great way to be able to really integrate and extend. So if you can imagine, one of the great applications here might be for e-commerce. If you want to see when somebody's purchased on your e-commerce site, this can actually trigger something to happen in our system, a custom SMS or email to be sent, maybe something to be posted to their profile, or some points to be awarded to them in their account. Once I've done that, I can set up the goals for the campaign. The goals are really simple. It's just how are you going to measure success on this campaign. This is going to allow you to be able to easily produce the reports that show what the ROI, how well am I doing at achieving my goal, and am I on track. So here my goal is new member acquisition. I can put in the value of each user. So when I acquire a member, I know that they're worth on average about $100 to me. And I'm targeting to get 10,000 people on this campaign. Then I can go in and just tell our system, how do we know that you've achieved this goal? And the way that I'd like to tell the system is that when somebody enters my contest one time, I know that I've captured them, and therefore now I know that they've reached this goal. I've acquired them. It could be different things. You could say that I also want to make sure that they came from the email that I sent out to start this campaign. So I actually need to know that they've opened my email one time as well before they went there to qualify for this goal. And if you want to, you can even restrict that by segment by going and saying that I only want to count this towards my goals if the person fits into my young mom's target demographic. Then I go to the rules, and the rules are really where you can set up the workflow for the campaign. So I can go in here and I can say, how do I want to configure this campaign to be able to be successful? And so let me just click in here. So I can go in here and I can set up any rules I want. So this is really the workflow. This is, how do you want to target market to different groups within your database? So as an example, we've set up a couple of reply offers too. So this is an interesting use of the rules. So the way that the rules work is really simple. And again, this is something that can be managed by somebody who's very non-technical. It's event, criteria, action. So an event is actually a user or consumer behavior. So, okay, this person just created a new profile, or they redeemed a pin code on my website, or they entered a contest, or they viewed a particular page, or they opened, clicked through, or unsubscribed from an email that I happened to send them, or there was an incoming SMS message that they sent into our shortcode, or it's their birthday, or they told a friend, or their friend registered. Anything that relates to that individual in terms of actions that they're taking. So in this case, it's when they entered our contest, and I get to pick the contest that I set up. Then the criteria is if their segment membership is in my high value segment, then what do I want to do back to them? So in this case, I can set up the actions that I want to take. And these are on an individual basis. So this is the action. If somebody fits this, they happen to sign up for the contest, they happen to be a high value customer, what do I want to do back to them on an individual basis, one-to-one marketing? So in this case, I want to automatically send them back an email message with a high value offer. Maybe what I want to do, just to show you how easy it is to change this, is I actually want to send them an SMS message back. So despite the fact that they've been online, I actually want to drive them back into a physical location, like an event or a store. So what I want to do is I want to actually move the relationship to their mobile phone, in which case I'm going to send them a thank you message, or I'm going to send them a high value coupon to their phone. And I'm going to do that by sending it through this shortcode, and it's just as easy to set that up as it would be to send an email back. And let's just say maybe what I want to do is, aside from sending them an email back to thank them and give them a coupon to get them back into my store, I actually also want to give them points to their loyalty account. So I've set up a loyalty program on the 80/20 platform, and it's really just this easy to be able to add points to their account. So I go in here and I say add points to their loyalty account, and for doing this successfully, I'm going to give them 10 points. And again, you've got a number of different options that you can do here in terms of adding points to their account, removing points, entering them into contests, sending them communications, being able to segment them differently, and even all the way down to, we had talked about our scoring before, so if you wanted to add points to their brand engagement index, in terms of I want to give them a point every time they open one of my emails, then I've got the ability to add points to that scoring index as well, which allows me to customize the way that I score people within the community. Once I've set up my rules for the campaigns, and I've got the ability to set up a number of different rules in terms of how I want to market to different people within my community. So this is my opportunity, maybe instead of value, one of the segments that we set up before that I said was important to us is the females 18 to 24 years old that are highly engaged. So if they come in versus everybody else, I actually want to do something better for them. So instead of sending them my average value offer, I'm going to focus on a high value offer for them. So this is where you can start to focus your marketing dollars on the people that are going to be able to generate the most revenue for you and be able to really grow your business, as opposed to spending equally on everybody in your community when there really are people, the 80-20 rule usually applies, where 80% of the people that are in your database are probably only accounting for 20% of your revenues, where the top 20% are really driving 80% of the revenues and value for your company. So it's about, how do I identify those people, and then how do I spend my marketing dollars accordingly to be able to get the best returns. Now, once I've set up this campaign, we've gone and set up this campaign in a very short period of time. Now what I can do is I can put it live into the marketplace, and I can actually go in here to the analytics area and get a real-time reporting. So this comes back to you on demand. You've got the ability at any point to go in and see how the campaigns are running, including if you're running multiple campaigns at once. You can go and compare them. You can compare campaigns you're running today to campaigns that you ran last month or a year ago to be able to get some benchmarks. But I've got the ability here to be able to go in and measure the effectiveness in real time. So let's go into the campaign area as an example to start. So one of the things I want to do is I want to start to see quickly the responses that I'm getting based on my goal. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, so the way our reporting works, just to take a step back, the way our reporting works is on the left-hand column here. I'm just going to blow this up. On the left-hand column, you've got all the reports that are available to you. So right now we're in the campaign tracking area. So I've got all the campaign-related reports on the left-hand column. So I select a report that I'm interested in. So right now what I'm interested in is I want to be able to see how many people reached my goal by where they came from. So what ad or what channel drove them to my website, and then ultimately how many of those people went and achieved my goal. And my goal in this case is that they entered my contest on this campaign. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to select the properties on the right hand column. So in this case I want to be able to do it by, I'm going to start by channel to see what channels people came from, and I'm going to go here and I'm going to pick my goal. So the goal that I set up for this campaign is new member acquisition. Let's go down here. So I want to see how well I did at new member acquisition. And I'm going to go and I'm going to say, and set the start date. So I'm going to say this campaign started in January. And from January till today, what does that look like? And this gives me a very graphical, very simple report that goes and says, of the people that reached my goal, where did they come from? So I can see here that 32% of the people came from my radio ads, 22% came from my POS in-store advertising, 21% came from online, 21% came from the newspaper, and 2% came just organically to the promotion. So I can quickly see how that works. And if I want to break that down even further, I can actually go by media ad, in which case it's actually not just the channels, but actually the specific ads. So I can say, oh, here are a couple different, I can see here my 3 ads that I ran on the same radio station, and I can see, how well did those ads do relative. So I can see these 3, and I can see, well, 10.7, 10.8, and 10.9%. They're about the same. But sometimes you see here that one ad actually performed much better than another. So when you go to run a second run, maybe the second month or the second wave of that campaign, you start to know now where I should be spending my money in terms of what media channels to drive people, as well as what ads were actually outperforming other ads. And I can do that really quickly. And then I could do this compared to where I spent my money. So I can go here and I can go back and say, for this campaign, which is the Proudest Parent campaign, where did I actually spend my money? And I can see quickly here, oh, this is where I spent my money. I didn't spend a lot on POS, but I got a pretty good return. Spent a lot on newspaper, didn't get much back. Same thing with, radio performed relatively well, as did online. And so now I can go and I can actually change the way that I spend for next campaign. And I can break this down by ROI as well. So I can go into the channels and I can see, instead of me having to figure it out based on how much I spent and based on the return that I got and how much it's worth to me when I acquire new customers, I want to know what my ROI was on these different campaigns. So I can go in here and I can kind of drag them on. So I want to compare, move my start date back to cover the campaign and say, you know, how did newspaper do versus radio versus my POS. And this is just drag and drop. I drag the ones that I'm interested in onto the graph. I drop them, and it can give me kind of the head-to-head comparison. So I can see quickly here how well, you know, they've performed, and I can get a good idea that POS has obviously been the best performing thing quite substantially. Radio, online follow, and newspaper hasn't really produced for me in this campaign. Now what I can do there is, so that's one way that I can do it. And the great thing about this system is that if you wanted to export this, so this is great. Let's say you now wanted to be able to present this. So you've got a presentation in 5 minutes. Your boss told you last minute you need to prepare something to show us how well this campaign is doing. You don't need to go and call 3 different vendors. You don't need to worry about consolidating Excel reports. All you need to do is go in here, export this as a JPEG, or as a PDF so that you can view it in Acrobat. You've got the ability to also export it in a number of other formats. So I'm going to just do this quickly. Let's say I've exported this as a JPEG. You can also put it into Excel if you want, or you can get an XML feed on this. So there's 4 friendly formats that you can export this to. But let's say I export it as a JPEG. Then what I can do is I can go into this report that I've been working on, which is a really simple report, and I can actually start to just drop these images in. So you can see this is a quick report I just created that says, you know, how did we spend our money? And then how does that compare to goal achievement with our different ads? You know, how did our database grow with our key demographic segments over time? So, you know, this shows my different segments, my young moms versus my university students versus my baby boomers. And I was able to pull this graph in real time from the system. Then I can go and I can say, well, what about behavioral segments? You know, how did my highly engaged people do versus my moderately engaged versus minimally engaged versus people that aren't engaged at all? And did that make a difference in terms of, you know, how many of those people have I been able to get into my database? Or again, using our scoring, you can start to do value segments. You can say, how many people in my database that I've been able to grow over this period of time are high value versus average value versus low value or no value. And how you define value in the system is up to you. So you can go in and you can say value is based off how many times they purchased, or value is based on how many friends they told, or a combination of how many friends they told, how much they purchased, how much they engaged with the brand, a number of different things. So it's really up to you to define it, but it does report on it in real time, and it's very graphical. And if you're worried about details, you can actually, you know, if you're responsible for, well, you know, show me that the particular email that I sent out did better this month than the last month. So it's not about a high-level ROI calculation. When you want to get into the nitty-gritty details, you can also do that in the reporting area. So I can go in here and just do a summary of one of the reports for email, and I can go in and I can say, just blow this up, and I can say, okay, how did my, you know, let's compare a couple of emails. So on the right-hand column here, I can see all the emails. How did my November email do versus my December offer? And I can quickly compare here, and I can compare that back to, say, my September offer as well, to be able to get a good idea of how consistent I've been, where I've improved. So I can see kind of slight improvements here. You know, it's September, I had 4,014 opens, and now I've got 4,105. So I've been able to improve that. I've been able to, you know, take my soft bounces down. My unsubscribes have gone down. My click-throughs have gone up. So I've been able to do a good job, and I can do this head-to-head comparison, and I can see compared to any of the newsletters I've run, and very quickly, without having to go in Excel and dig through the numbers, I can very quickly see what's working, what's not working. And the great thing about this is you can actually go back and alter the campaign in real time. So just as easily as we set up the campaign, we can go back in here and change one of the rules. We can go back here and change one of the emails. As an example, if I notice that my contest is not working well because the prize isn't motivating people, then I can go back in here and I can say, well, right now I'm giving away groceries for a year. Maybe I'll set up a new prize just to test that. So I can go in here and I can say, well, you know, my new prize is going to be free baby food for a month. So I'm going to insert that. I've created a little object for that that says free baby food. It's got the description of what it is. And if I had an image, I could upload that image. Now I can go in here quickly and say, you know, it's got about $150 value. I'm willing to give away 12 of them. I can put in my fulfillment instructions. And then I can do that in multiple languages. And then I've got the ability to set the draw interval. So I can go in and say, well, you know, I'm going to give that away daily for the rest of the campaign. And I'm going to start that, well, you know, I'm going to start that tomorrow. And then I can just save that. And now I've got another prize that I've given away. And the system will automatically now start to draw that on a daily basis at the time that you suggested, give away that prize. And I can go back into my reporting and I can see if that had an impact on how well my campaign did, how many people entered the contest, to be able to get that real-time feedback loop. So, or if it changed the gender or the age of the people that participated, you know, because I'm trying to get more people in my target segment, which is my young moms. So maybe the baby food is going to be a really great way to motivate them to sign up, because right now I'm having a problem getting them in, and they're high value to me. So again, I showed you a couple things in the system today. Within a matter of minutes, again, just as a recap, what we were able to do, which would be a very difficult thing to do in most companies today, is we were able to get everybody that we've got in our list into the database. We were able to set up segments to be able to target those people down to a more individual basis. We were able to set up the elements of our campaign in one area. So despite the fact that our campaign might have an online contest, might have mobile messages, might have email marketing, might have some social and tell-a-friend stuff incorporated, we were able to set all of that up in one dashboard. We were able to go into the campaign area, configure the rules so that it actually personalized the experience to everybody on a one-to-one basis, and then go into the reporting area to see what's working, what's not working, pull the key graphs out so I can populate my report, send that out to my boss so that he's happy or she's happy, go back into my campaign, modify that so that I'm being proactive at making sure that the campaign is successful, and then hopefully still being able to go home on Friday at a reasonable hour to enjoy my weekend. So that is the 80/20 marketing platform. Thank you for sitting through the demo today, and we really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll see you on as a client very soon. Thanks for your time. Take care.